What's up, A to Z Sports here on a Thursday, talking NFL Combine as Easton Freeze is at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis as our Combine coverage rolls on. Going to have a great conversation today. Wednesday was packed with a lot of news early Wednesday morning, actually before our recorded show Wednesday morning from Tuesday actually aired, with Harold Landry being granted permission to seek a trade by the Titans at the Combine. A lot of you guys in the live chat that was recorded the day before. We're talking all about Harold Landry, as Sam and I were talking about Shedeur Sanders being a big winner from Tuesday at the NFL Combine. Now we will discuss Harold Landry on his way out, the Titans shipping him out. Now, how and which way will they ship him out? And then Abdul Carter, who was also at the podium at the Combine in Indy on Wednesday, talking about how he wants in as the number one overall draft pick. We'll talk about it all. What does it mean for Harold Landry out? Does this mean Abdul Carter is more likely to be the number one overall pick? There's a lot of conversations we'll talk about here, Easton, of the Titans conversations at the NFL Combine. Welcome in. Hope your Indy experience has been off to a good start. About halfway through, maybe not quite halfway through. You're not quite 2-minute warning in the second quarter, but you're getting closer to that, right? I mean, I'd say that's about where you are.
I mean, I'm on day 2 of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 6. So
yeah, but day 6 doesn't really count as much.
If we're playing hockey, the first period is over.
Okay, so this first intermission. Okay, we'll see what you do during your first intermission out on a Wednesday night.
Time for adjustments.
But before we officially get going, tell the people what they got to do here, as always, on this Thursday morning show.
Oh, yeah. Good morning to everybody. Again, here in Indianapolis, having a blast, getting some great work done. A lot of exciting stuff to talk about today. Before we get into any of it, got to have you make sure that you're liking the show on Facebook, on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button for us. Help us out. Easiest way that you can get as many live eyeballs on the show for us. Be a friend of the program. Hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. All those good things. And then even though we're not live this morning, jump into those comments. We love when the show goes live to see what you guys have to say. We do pay attention. And of course, just because you can't talk to us doesn't mean you can't react with one another. And so jump in there on YouTube, on Facebook, into the comments. Let us know what you think about some Edge talk today.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports here live on a Thursday. Well, not live, recorded for a Thursday morning on Wednesday night because Easton is at the Combine. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Easton Freeze live from Indianapolis at the NFL Combine for our Titans coverage. We do go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. You got to leave that 5-star Google review for A to Z Sports as well. And we have to thank our sponsors because they truly do make it happen for us, and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. Seaman Lebanon at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. TDOT out there trying to keep our state beautiful, and you can join their campaign at nobodytrashestennessee.com. And our friends at Bart Durham Injury Law, where a crash can change your life forever. Help is just a click away at bartdurham.com. Speaking of Bart Durham Injury Law, they are the great sponsor of all of our NFL Combine coverage from Sam and Easton in Indianapolis. Sam and I had a great conversation on Tuesday evening for Wednesday morning. Easton, you and I are about to have another great conversation. All of it made possible because Bart Durham Injury Law, they're fantastic. They are Nashvillians for Nashvillians since 1975 when Bart Durham opened the doors of the business. Now Blair Durham, his son and Marine vet, is running the show there and doing a lot of great things for you whenever you have an unfortunate car accident. Bart Durham Injury Law is right there for you. But Blair and his team doing a lot of great things behind the scenes with different foundations and different other things, charitable organizations that they're trying to help out the city and the community of Nashville and across the entire state. So check them out online at bartdurham.com. Easton, I asked the same thing to Sam yesterday.
Okay.
You have now 2 days. You have double the time to decide what your biggest takeaway has been from your NFL Combine experience at Indy so far through 2 days of content and interviews and all the media stuff. What do you think your biggest takeaway thus far is?
Today at the convention center was defensive line, edge, and linebacker day. So that's fresh on my mind, and we're going to talk all show about that. You know what? That's not my biggest takeaway. Although, just to drop some things that we're not going to be able to talk about today that I have come away from today saying. Number one, Vol for Life members out there, listen in real quick. Omar Norman Lott, good player, going to be a good NFL player, going to rise up boards in the next month or two, I think. Love his profile. That's number one. Number two, honorable mention, Michael Williams out of Georgia, edge two. Edge two to me. That's going to be a hotter one for some folks. I know a lot of folks out there that have him as edge 4, edge 5, edge 6. You don't have to think that he's edge 2. You can disagree with me. What I do know, a lot of folks in the league working for teams, heading up teams, seem to think that Micah Williams, the 20-year-old out of Georgia, going to be a top 10 pick, might be the second edge off the board after Abdul Carter, and might be closer to Abdul Carter in terms of general talent as a prospect than some folks think. So those are the honorable mentions. But the thing that I am going to make my number one takeaway, I'm cheating here.
None of that was.
No, it wasn't. That was me. Just I'm firing takes from the hip.
You haven't talked to the audience in a long time.
It's been a long time. I know. I've all bottled up in here. So I'm firing takes from the hip. The number one takeaway for today is going to be going back to local day yesterday when we heard from all the coaches, and the GMs, and the scuttlebutt in the wake of that. The past 24 hours since we've heard from those guys, got a chance to not just talk to Brian Callahan and Mike Borgonzi at the podium in official capacity, but on the day that the teams are there and in the media hall, there's a lot of bumping shoulders, rubbing elbows, having some conversations off the record, of which got the opportunity to have quite a few, learn some things. I know that friends of mine, colleagues of mine that cover other teams did the same thing. And upon review, and if you were on Twitter today or yesterday, I suppose, when you're watching this, you saw this kind of percolate to the surface. The Giants are the team to watch if you're the Tennessee Titans at number one when it pertains to the quarterback situation. I know we have an article on A to Z Sports right now about that subject, so go and check it out. It should be there near the top of the queue on the Titans page. But brother, the Giants are on a mission to find themselves a quarterback come hell or high water, whether or not that's Matthew Stafford, who looks increasingly likely to be on the move this offseason, whether that's to the Giants, to the Raiders, where he just happens to be bumping into Tom Brady at his Montana ski lodge. And those guys are just having an informal, unplanned, unofficial, perfectly licensed, sanctioned, and legal meeting in Montana at Tom Brady's house.
Montana's a big place. Right? There's a big a lot of acreage out there in Montana. Just happened to run into Tom Brady.
But it happens. I was skiing last week, Austin, and I ran into
Tom Brady.
I ran into at least a half dozen people that I just happened to want to recruit to work with me. It happens where you just happen to run into guys that you'd like to have private conversations with. So obviously that was not planned, but there's going to be an arms race here, it seems, between the Raiders and the Giants for Matthew Stafford, if and when the Rams are willing to trade him, because there are two teams and the Rams can dictate a bidding war. I think that might be a thing that actually happens, and they seem set on moving on. But if the Giants don't land Matthew Stafford, what I'm hearing, both on Twitter and from folks that I'm talking to here on the ground in Indianapolis, is that they're going to be very, very seriously interested in trading up to the number one spot in the draft. The Titans yesterday confirmed, both publicly and in separate conversations, that they have seriously had a couple of phone calls so far, not any offers or anything yet, but they are fielding real calls from teams wondering whether or not the Titans would be willing to move off of that first pick. Not hard to connect the dots to wonder if the Giants are one of those teams. And if they don't land Stafford, does that mean the Titans can move down just to 3, still land one of the top 4 players in this class, and come away with another top 100 pick? Feels like the best case scenario for them. So if you're a Titans fan, you should be rooting for Tom Brady to tamper his way all the way to Matthew Stafford landing in Las Vegas.
Is it tampering because the Rams gave him permission, though?
Well, that's what's currently the night of Wednesday, the 26th. People don't know, because you're right. They gave him permission, but there's also rules about like having actual meetings. And, there's a reason why the representatives for the Raiders and the Brady came out and said, it's the bump-in rule. Like you go back to college recruiting, there was the bump-in rule. That's actually what was one of the things that got Bruce Pearl started in trouble back when he was at Tennessee, was you keep accidentally bumping into recruits that are sophomores and juniors before you can legally recruit them. That's exactly what this happened. That's exactly what happened here.
back in the day. So, all right. So that would bum out Abdul Carter because Abdul Carter wants to go number 1 overall. We'll talk about Abdul Carter more later on.
That's right.
But Wednesday got started off pretty hot because it came out early that the Titans have, speaking of permissions, have given permission to former Pro Bowl linebacker Harold Landry to seek a trade per Adam Schefter. Sources, Landry started all 17 games last season, finishing with 71 tackles, 9 sacks, 18 pressures, and 4 pass deflections. He's 28 years old, has 31 and a half sacks in the last 3 seasons that he's played. There was a torn ACL year completely missed, sandwiched between those 3 seasons, and is due $17.5 million in base salary this season. So that is something that if you've been watching our show for the last, few weeks to a month plus, we have been talking about the future, the fate of Harold Landry, and not a positive outlook. Just very discreetly saying like, cut candidate, probably not going to be here. Harold Landry, they're probably going to upgrade, trying to move on. That's because he's got $0 left guaranteed on his contract. Now that this past season is complete, $17.5 million in base salary plus his signing bonus proration has him north of $24 million cap hit in each of the next 2 seasons. He's 28. He's a player that, while he's got 9 sacks last year, it doesn't seem like he was as productive as a whole as a full-time starter. So Easton, before we get the audience involved here in a second, kind of give us what you believe to be the way the Titans feel about Harold Landry coming out of last season with this coaching staff and now with the new front office in place too.
Yeah, this has been percolating in NFL circles for a couple of weeks now, and especially in the national market, the conversations that I have had behind the scenes been pretty clear that this was going to become a thing in February and March this year. However, it didn't take having these inside sources and private conversations really to understand that the writing was on the wall with this situation because of that money and because of the player that Harold Landry is. Now, this is a sneaky conversation a sneaky bad conversation for Harold Landry that we're going to have a lot today, because a lot of fans, and I said this on Twitter last week, kind of foreshadowing what eventually came down today, the biggest disconnect by far to me right now for Titans fans in general, and I'm not saying all fans don't get it. You listening, I promise you're the exception. A lot of fans don't have I think an accurate, up-to-date grasp on what Harold Landry is right now. The disconnect between what the average fan thinks he is versus what he actually is right now, there's a big gap there, big delta there. And that's reflected by what's happening right now, what's about to happen with Harold Landry, and the way that, again, behind the scenes, folks that have coached him, worked with him, and those of us that have just watched the tape and are, grinders and weirdos that love to just break down football in February, that's what we see. And so when you look on paper and you say Harold Landry last year on a bad team was the only guy who had no help, and he got 9 sacks. I get it, man. It looks like, what's the problem here? But as we're going to talk about today, the reality on the ground for Harold Landry in 2025 is that at this point in his career, he is a rotational edge 3, edge 4 in the NFL. No slight to Harold Landry, who I think is a very good player. There's a reason why in his prime, he got that contract that he did from the Titans. He earned that as a rookie. He, for the past 5-ish years, has been their star edge rusher. And again, I don't mean this in the wrong way, but his entire career, Harold Landry has been really the most one-dimensional speed rusher in the league, at the top of the league. Like, of the top 20 guys, he has been by far the most one-dimensional player just from a skill set standpoint. And I don't mean that as a slight, because while I am kind of calling him a one-trick pony, that trick rocked. He was so good at it. He was so good at it, and it worked, and it paid dividends and was a big deal for the Titans for a long time. And then, unfortunately, before the season in 2022, 2022, tore the ACL in August. On
August 30th.
Right.
Camp had broke. We were in that weird gap of training camp's over and cut days about to happen, and then there's another gap before the season begins. Yeah,
exactly. Tore that ACL, not to no fault of his own, and just you don't have that trick anymore, right? And so when that's not in the bag, the one-dimensional element of it plays itself out, and that's what you saw last year. And yeah, he had 9 sacks, but his pressure rate was very, very low for his standard of guy, for a starting caliber edge 1 in the league. When you go down each of those sacks and watch them, it's a lot of relatively unimpressive sacks that are it's a lot of cleaning up. And again, just pure sack numbers in general can be really misleading. You got to look at the actual production snap to snap. If you watch all of his snaps, it's just not a pretty picture. And here's what folks don't know. Arden Key last year, pretty definitively the better pass rusher on this Titans team. That's just the reality at this point. And so that's why we're going to have to talk about what we're going to talk about today.
No, for sure. I mean, we bring up all the stats that was brought up by Adam Schefter. I mean, you're about 18 pressures and 9 sacks. Like it's not that many plays like that for a whole season. Like that's like that. So those are very highly impactful plays. Sacks and pressures are important, but there's a lot of other things that go into, being an edge rusher and how you play defense. That Harold Landry, was, as you said, sneaky bad. So I'm going to ask this question. And if you listen to me throughout most of October, you already know my answer to this. Did the Titans make a mistake by not trading away Harold Landry at the deadline last season? So it's a yes or no. Did the Titans make a mistake not trading away Harold Landry at the deadline last season? We'll get you guys involved. Yes, we are recorded, but I will actually be watching this show live with you guys on YouTube and Facebook, and I'll be commenting along. I've probably already done it a couple times. Now that we're in the 16-minute mark of the show, I'm already watching live with you guys, so I will give you I'll put up a YouTube poll.
The teacher is still going to grade the test.
I'll put up a YouTube poll, a yes or no, and then we'll go from there. But did the Titans make a mistake by not trading away Harold Landry at the deadline last year? A yes or no question. YouTube poll coming from me shortly in the future. But first, T-Dot's been doing a lot of great work here across the state of Tennessee for years, doing great work on our roads, our highways, but also trying to keep our state beautiful, because Tennessee is a beautiful state. It really is. Rolling hills across the state. We know what it looks like. And if you live here, if you're from here, you want to take care of it. And we can do that by helping out with the big problem that is littering across our highways and our interstates. It is a big problem. And TDOT is out there trying to spend as much energy and resources as they can. $20 million a year are the efforts that go towards cleaning up litter. There's a lot of other places that money can go to help us out as Tennesseans. And we can all join the effort by checking out the campaign, NobodyTrashesTennessee.com. That is NobodyTrashesTennessee.com. A great way to learn how to break those bad habits. If you're an accidental litterer, you can do that. Once again, NobodyTrashesTennessee.com.
We're also brought to you by the Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine. Go to boneandjointtn.org. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust, and you can trust our friends over at the Bone and Joint Institute. They are located in Franklin with over a dozen specialists who can help you get through any type of injury. As Austin, I know you have worked with them before. A++ review from your time with them. They have a state-of-the-art rehab facility on campus to help you with your recovery needs. Bone and Joint can do everything under that one roof for your convenience. They got the clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, rehab. It's a one-stop shop over at the Bone and Joint Institute. To schedule an appointment, go to boneandjointtn.org for any sports medicine and orthopedic needs that you have. boneandjointtn.org.
All right, Easton is in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine, and let's dive into this because we just asked the question, and I have a YouTube poll up. I'm going to try to predict the YouTube poll results that I haven't done yet in this recorded show. But the Titans have granted permission to Harold Landry to seek a trade. So we asked the question, did the Titans make a mistake by not trading away Harold Landry at the deadline last year? My answer, Easton, is obviously yes. And I believe the YouTube poll percentage right now is at 83% yes. I'm going to say 83% of people are going to say yes, because I know, like, you and I saw a lot of people on Twitter on Wednesday saying, like, why would they give up such a consistent good player? I saw somebody that tweeted at me saying, you're taking a guy like Harold Landry for granted. I don't think they are.
I saw somebody tweet that moving Landry to draft Abdul Carter, which, one, that's not what's happening. But if they were to move Landry to draft Carter, it's the same as moving A.J. Brown to draft Treylon Burks.
Terrible.
Real tweet I saw.
Well, yeah, so that's not good. But Harold Landry, I respect Harold Landry.
Yes.
As a player, as a professional, and what he's done. He's been a great Titan throughout his time here. He has done everything right. He is a good worker. He's a good employee. Mike Vrabel has said these type of things. He is I will do anything for the team, for the company, for the business that you ask me to do, and will go full speed at it. But I think the time has come where he lost his fastball. You called him a one-trick pony. If Evel Knievel gets old and can no longer jump the big canyon, then we're not showing up to watch Evel Knievel if he can't make that jump anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Harold Landry no longer has the edge motorcycle lean speed rush to sack. It's just not there anymore for him. And that's unfortunate because he's only 28 years old. He still should have a couple good years left in him. And I think he can. But I think it's what his role is and what he's currently being paid by the Titans. It's $17.5 million in base salary is too much for the Titans because there's $0 that are guaranteed on his contract. So, yes, the Titans made a mistake by not trading him at the deadline because my prediction is that they are not going to be able to trade him this offseason.
Yeah.
They will have to cut him. And they could have traded him in the season before the deadline because – there could have been, again, I don't know what the market was, but they should have shopped him. They should have done something because now they're going to get nothing for him. Where if you look at a team trying to buy at the trade deadline, Harold Landry, if you're a playoff team, any playoff team could use an extra pass rusher. That is like a great thing to have if you're going for it, right?
Sure.
And if you can get Harold Landry, and I've been saying this the whole month of October leading up to the deadline, at that point, the Titans could trade Harold Landry to any contender, and the receiving team would only have to pay him roughly $1 million a game, which is not much, and had zero ties to him after this past season. So you could have rented Harold Landry as a playoff contender going for it to help you maybe win a game in the second half, in the fourth quarter, a 3rd and 8, have Harold Landry on your field for you where he can still help. Rent him for $1 million a game to help you try to get deeper into the playoffs, a little bit more than you already had on defense. And then at the end of the season, you can cut him and be done because there's no guaranteed money. That's where the Titans could get something for Harold Landry. Now, they're not going to get anything. So, yes, they made a mistake, in my opinion. What do you think about my take?
First of all, I'm surprised you think only 83% of respondents are going to say they should have traded him. I think it's going to be higher than that.
You think higher than that? I think
the number's going to start with
83% is pretty high for our YouTube polls. It's usually not that low.
You're right. But I think that number is going to start with a 9. And the reason why is because hindsight is 2020. And at this point, whether or not fans at the, I think a lot of those respondents maybe would have had a different answer in the moment last year. But right now, I think everybody is on the same page. You could have gotten more for him then than you could get now, which the bar is low because right now you may be able to get nothing. You and I are obviously on the same page. I think nobody's, if you aren't holding your breath that the Titans are going to get something in a trade for Harold Landry, do not, because what NFL teams don't love to do is each other favors when they know that a team is going to cut a guy and they're like, hey, we, open for business for this guy. We're going to trade that we're definitely going to cut. That's the writing on the wall.
Let me pause you there because if Harold, like the whole argument for if you're trying to play devil's advocate against us, and I'm sure there's some people in the chat that are trying to make this point that we just can't see yet, but it's the team gets the rights to Harold Landry, doesn't have to get into a bidding war if Harold Landry's a free agent. If Harold Landry's a free agent, he's getting signed for less than $17.5 million a year.
Correct.
So why is anybody going to take him on for $17.5 million a year when they could get into a bidding war and pay him maybe half that?
Yeah, you're right. The logic tracks for you to say, well, throw a 6th or a 7th round pick at the Titans so that I can guarantee I get Landry. Yes.
Would you do that in October?
That works when you don't have to take the contract he's currently on. If you trade for him, you got to take that contract, brother. And nobody wants that contract. There's a reason the Titans don't want that contract. So yes, you're right. This is a last ditch effort at this point. And so now they're not going to get a pick for him. Like, I'll just go ahead and I'll just plant my flag. They're not getting a pick for this guy. Could they have gotten a pick for him at the trade deadline? Probably. The reason why my answer is slightly different from yours as to whether or not they should have traded him at the deadline, I'm with you that they should have shopped him more. And that's something that I'm going to try to do some more digging on in the next month or so.
Yeah, how much did they try?
Right. How much? And I may never get an answer to that, but how much did you guys try to move him? And
I mean, they moved D-Hop, they moved Ernest Jones.
Right. But they were very hot or cold on guys, from what I understand from that time. Was they were guys that they were shopping, and there were guys that they were definitely not shopping, and there was not much in between where they were hearing teams out. It's we definitely want to move these guys, we definitely don't want to move these guys, and that's kind of the way that they operated. But if you could have gotten and that's the thing, man. I remember at the time. Here's the funny thing: we're sitting here both essentially saying they should have traded him, and yet if they had, Austin, they would have gotten a fifth, maybe a fifth, probably a sixth or a seventh.
Great.
Right. And I think folks, hopefully, the majority of, I know some folks are still. I mean, again, I got a lot of replies today saying, "Well, you could probably get a third or a fourth for him today." Incorrect. Loud, incorrect buzzer noise. Not true.
I mean, maybe a fourth, maybe.
Then?
I doubt it. I doubted a fourth then.
Unless the Titans just agreed to eat the entire contract, maybe. But still,
which they could have done. Why not? They paid him anyway.
I know.
They paid him anyway to win 3 games,
and that's fine. But even then, I still think if they offered to eat the whole contract, they're still not getting a 4th round pick. Because again, teams it's not like he fell apart after the trade deadline. The writing was already there. It wasn't as clear and obvious because you didn't have a full season's worth of data, but it was clear at that point. And I remember us talking about it. I was kind of pushing back at the time on the idea that, hey, fans think you can get a third or a fourth for this guy. You're getting a 5th or a 6th for this guy at best. And even then, I'm still not sure if the team's offering that because of the fact that what he is as a player right now is pretty clear. And it would have taken a level of desperation would have been the key. And there was some of that, with the Lions, for example. So should they have moved him then? Yes. But the funny thing, Austin, is that you and I think the majority of folks that are listening to us are thinking now is, well, shoot, yeah, they should have gotten a 5th or a 6th for him. We would all smile kindly upon that today. But if they had done that last October, November, whenever the trade deadline, October, if they had done that in the moment, they would have gotten reamed for it. It would not have gone over well with fans. There probably would have been folks like me who had been like, yeah, I get it. But I think we would have been the minority because I think fans, and eventually they would have been proven wrong. But I don't think it would have been a very popular move, which is just funny to me because we can say now they should have done it. But just like the Titans are regretting not doing it, I think the hindsight is the element here that is I think we are armchair quarterbacking this is what I'm saying.
I am not, because I said it back in October. I am not hindsight 2020 because I literally on this I hate when hosts call shows programs.
The program?
On this program, I said verbatim, Harold Landry is the most tradable Titan.
I think you put it in a headline.
Literally.
Yeah.
The most tradable Titan. And at the time, the trade deadline was November 5th. The Titans had won 2 games. They were fresh off a win, a thrilling victory over Drake May and the New England Patriots to get their 2nd win on the season.
What if Harold Landry go on to win no more games?
1 more game.
Did they win 3 games?
They beat the Texans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Harold Landry had his 5th sack of the season in that game, right? So you got a guy coming off, you're 2 and whatever the hell, and you're 2 and nobody cares. So I think it would be you paid him his contract, $1 million a game roughly, to get 4 sacks and for you to lose every game but one of them. So why wouldn't you have paid him to go play for the Detroit Lions for a 4th or a 5th round pick and you still lose the games right. That, and then you get another draft pick, and they're all talking about I think Chad Brinker wants to have 9 to 10 to plus draft picks, and he's got 8. Harold Landry could have gotten him 1 more that you can do something with. So right. I think it is a mistake. But hey, guess what? Rand Carthon's not here, so there's also that caveat that maybe Rand didn't want to trade away Harold Landry after trading away D-Hop and Ernest Jones. I don't know the difference of what that would have made, but Harold Landry is going to get cut because he's not getting traded. I think that's the end of the day.
I mean, if he doesn't get cut, it's because he is the most self-aware and willing NFL player in history, and just decides to take a backup salary all of a sudden, which isn't happening. So
no. Let's just say this, Easton, and I want I want the audience to listen and to know this is a fact, what we're about to say. The granting Harold Landry permission to seek a trade and the eventual cutting of Harold Landry has nothing to do and will hold zero weight in the Titans' decision with the number 1 overall draft pick in Abdul Carter. Mm-hmm. That is absolutely a fact. The Tennessee Titans have known that Harold Landry is not going to be on this 2025 roster since before they earned the first overall draft pick in the last week of the season.
Correct. The reality here is that folks are a little late to the party today. I saw a lot of quote tweets of the Adam Schefter announcement saying, Abdul Carter, get ready to learn Titan, buddy, which may be true, but has nothing to do with the tweet that you're quoting. The reality is, before they gave him permission to seek a trade, the Titans had a need at both starting edge positions. And after they granted him the permission to seek a trade, they still have a need at both starting edge positions. Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. So that is a fact. Now let's hear from Penn State edge rusher and potentially the number 1 overall draft pick, Abdul Carter, talking to media Wednesday at the NFL Combine.
In the piece.
How important is it for you to be picked first? How much do you want to be picked first?
Yeah, it's very important for me. That's one of the goals I made before the season. Something I always talked about. It's what I work for. And I feel like I'm getting close to that. Just got to keep working, keep putting the effort in, and I'm accomplish my dream.
How realistic do you feel like it is to go number 1 this year?
I feel like it's very realistic, and I feel like I'm the best player in the country, and the best player should be selected number 1.
Have you met with the Panthers?
So there's Abdul Carter. Shout out to Jimmy Wyatt and Nick Suss. That's the loudest I've ever heard Nick Suss's voice, by the way.
He has to really chime up around here. There's a lot more competition.
Yes, sure is. So let's go ahead and ask this question because we just talked about Harold Landry. So while we both agree and we both are saying this is a fact, not having Harold Landry does not change the likeliness of the Titans taking Abdul Carter or not.
Right.
But let's just ask this as an overall draft need question. Where does the edge position rank for the Titans with draft needs, knowing that Harold Landry is going to be gone now officially? So we'll get to you guys' comments. I'll read the question one more time. Where does the edge position rank for the Titans in positional needs in the draft, knowing that Harold Landry is out of the picture? You guys, first, second, third, fourth, whatever the heck you want to do that. But Easton, first, tell everybody about our great friends that are making all this NFL Combine content happen.
Yeah, there's so much more to say, but we are only able to give you all this content from the Combine thanks to our friends over at Bart Durham Injury Law. Listen, a crash can change your life forever, and help is only a click away over at bartdurham.com. Your big truck wreck is their fight for justice. They can be reached 24/7, Austin, to get your legal questions answered at 615-242-9000. They think you deserve to be paid. That team of attorneys over there at Bart Durham Injury Law are available to meet with you whenever is most convenient, including virtually. So visit their website over at bartdurham.com. They've got current news, blogs. They're able to be contacted, live chatted with. They've been in business since 1975, 50 years of experience dealing with all kinds of wrecks. They're located in the heart of Nashville on Capitol View. They're local, and they can fight for anybody in Kentucky or Tennessee that has been in an auto accident. Blair Durham, who is heading up the charge over there at bartdurham.com, a Marine veteran, a great Tennessean, happy to help you with any kind of automobile accident that you are in Tennessee or Kentucky. Check them out over at bartdurham.com.
Also, shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is the website. Go save some money on your next ride by seeing them in Lebanon and WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So, all right, so Abdul Carter wants to go number 1 overall. That was very clear. And the Titans have that pick. They have a need. Now, you talked earlier about the Giants and Matthew Stafford and what could that happen if the Giants are the most aggressive team of wanting to trade up to get their quarterback at number 1 overall if they miss out on a veteran move like Matt Stafford. What does that mean? Now, is that Abdul Carter 2nd overall the Browns, Abdul Carter 3rd overall the Titans, or how does that work out? But we ask the question now that we know on the record that Harold Landry is out of the picture, where does the edge position rank in draft needs for the Titans? 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, I think are probably 4th is probably the lowest it'll be. Easton, where do you stand on this question?
So we know that quarterback is number 1. It's so number 1 that I've seen people make risks.
Draft needs, though.
Well, I mean, right now it is a draft need. Like, until they have a quarterback, it's a draft need.
Okay, side question. Do I want to do this right now? I'm going to save this because this is really good.
Save it.
Okay.
Save it. All right. All right, write it down. Make a mental note.
I got to write it down.
We can talk about it tomorrow. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and I have my own opinions about the draft, guys. But like ultimately, I'm just going to boil down to draft needs to needs right now because that's the way that it works until free agency hits. So the next two that you can debate are tackle and edge, right? It's the guys in the trenches where everything starts, begins, and ends in the NFL. So listen, it's edge. Edge is number two. It's the number two need for this team in general. The reason why is, you know what? I'm going to immediately contradict myself. You ready for this?
Yep, I did it yesterday with Sam, so don't worry about it.
Okay, I'm going to – what I just said, I'm walking it back already. I'm realizing in real time what I just did. I'm not going to say draft needs are main needs because a big part of my evaluation of edge being the biggest draft need is the fact that tackle is way more addressable to me in free agency. So just kidding. As far as a draft need, edge is clearly the number two need for this team. I'm still going to say quarterback's a draft need until they need a quarterback. But
okay.
When I look at the guys that are available via free agency at edge and at tackle, I've written a little bit about this. You can go find it on A to Z Sports. We're going to write a lot more about it in the coming days as free agency is upon us here. March 10th coming up, right around the corner. The general gist is, and also I think just the nature of the position, a veteran tackle is going to be an easier plug and play to address the problem now than, a rookie edge is much more likely to be an immediate impact than a rookie tackle. We know this, right?
Yeah,
so that's
more of a roller coaster at rookie tackle.
Right.
We saw J.C. Latham go through it,
100%. And so that combined with the fact that when you look at the general talent level of the edge and tackle options in free agency, it's actually a sneaky, relatively speaking, because at these premium positions, a nice tackle crop of free agents is still like kind of slim pickings, but it's always really slim pickings. And sometimes there's nobody that's like decent. There are a couple decent options this year. There are. And so I think the Titans are going to be, something that came up yesterday was the idea that, hey, this new regime is going to be much more frugal and prudent and targeted in the way that they address free agency. And none of that's bluster. That's true. They mean that stuff. But I think that it has led fans to think a little bit too conservatively in terms of the quantity, the overall involvement the Titans are going to have in free agency. It's not that they're not going to be involved. They have to be. They need dudes. It's that they're no longer going to be necessarily shopping in the A-list celebrity bin. It's going to be the B and C and D list level guys. Think somebody in the Titans organization yesterday mentioned something that I'd brought up already before, but it's clearly on their minds. The way that Washington handled free agency last year, when you juxtapose that directly with how Tennessee did it last year, very different approaches. One boring, one panned in the media, one lost March, one winner of March, box office, Hollywood, sugar rush. And we saw how that worked out for both teams. Now, I'm not saying Washington's success was predicated on, going and getting old linebackers that are good locker room guys, but it's a part of the way that they succeeded, and it's what the Titans want to do. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing. I think that edge is the number two need for them in the draft.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
The edge position is the number one draft need for the Tennessee Titans.
All right, elaborate.
Over quarterback.
Oh, okay. Tell me more.
If the Titans enter Saturday at the NFL draft without drafting an edge player, you're probably going, if they
probably they are. It's a disaster. Yeah.
Right? It's a disaster if they enter Saturday, day 3 of the draft, without drafting an edge player. You're like, ooh, this is painful.
Well, particularly the strength of this group. There are 12 guys that are going to be day 1 and day 2 guys that can be immediate impact.
Exactly. If the Titans enter day 2 or day 3 of the NFL draft and did not draft the quarterback, you're going, okay, they didn't like the quarterback.
Right. That's a fair argument. I can hear that.
You have to draft an edge rusher on Thursday or Friday of the 2025 NFL draft. If the Titans do not, they are in big trouble because you got to build this thing for the long haul. Mm-hmm. If you love Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, take them one all day long. Draft an edge guy at 35. most likely, right? You probably need to do that. If you don't like the quarterback at number 1, trade back. And if you can't trade back, then you got to get Abdul Carter number 1. Travis Hunter's not an option for me. I've already told you that. Travis Hunter is not an option for me at number 1 because there's no way you should take Travis Hunter over Abdul Carter. It's a process of elimination. Like, you need an edge rusher because you don't have Harold Landry anymore. Yes, you do. You can't do that. You can't do that. If they do
they're
that,
building for the long haul and they think he's clearly the best player. Listen, here's a tease for you, Austin. Doing a lot of recording with media friends who I'm kidnapping here at the convention center for A to Z Sports socials and YouTube and everything for the next couple of weeks. A lot of fun stuff coming your way. Finally found somebody today who doesn't love the idea of Abdul Carter as a number 1 overall pick, just in general. Does not love the value. And I'm not talking to everybody, but so far I found one. Okay. And it's the one. It's somebody who you know. It's somebody that everybody in the comments, you know his name. You know his name. And so that's that guy and more you're going to hear from on A to Z's accounts in the near future.
You can tell me later when I text you my question that I saved for later too. So
we can trade.
But do you like my thought though that the edge position is the number 1 draft need? Because quarterback, if you don't take the quarterback, then it's justifiable of you didn't like the quarterback enough. Right. If you don't take an edge player in the first 3 rounds, then you're like, dang, this team is going to be really struggling when it comes to the fall of getting after the opposing quarterback.
Austin, I don't like it. I love it. I think that, this is something that I'm going to adopt for sure. I think that the way that you're approaching it from the projecting the hindsight, I think is the right way to look at it there.
Thank you.
That's well done. Some of your better work, occasionally you fire off something quality on the show.
I didn't even know that until you were starting to talk, to be honest. It just came to me beautifully and it presented itself and I said, yes, that is what I'm going to attach myself to for the next 3 months.
Amazing.
So that's how it works. I think that's good enough to end on. Yeah.
Me too.
I think that's great. But once again, shout out to our friends at Bart Durham Injury Law. They're making all of our NFL Combine content happen. And so this will be a great Thursday morning show. On Friday morning, I think we're going to do something fun, trying to get me, Easton, and Sam all together, if we can make it happen, in the Airbnb for Friday morning show. So we'll see how that plays out. But shout out to Bart Durham Injury Law, bartdurham.com. Make sure you hit that like button, like the show before you go. Subscribe to the channel, 5-star Google review, all that good stuff. So hit us up right there and stay tuned to what Easton and Sam have from Indianapolis all week long at the NFL Combine. A to Z sports.com/Titans for all the interviews, the videos, the articles written across all the entire socials. And we'll catch you guys later on. Appreciate it.